I often think, like, what does it mean to be alive in a sense? And I know it sounds mundane, but just hear me out for a second. Right, you're breathing, living. You know what I'm saying? Like you're having this experience that, right, they say Earth is the only planet in our solar system that can sustain human life. So you're literally, what are we doing here? You get what I'm saying? What is our purpose for being a human here on this earth? It's a reason, because I don't think it's no such thing as coincidence. You know, I think it's a reason for everything. So for you to be Casey Render here in the flesh, no one else is having the experience you're having. No one else is seeing the world through your eyes. Do you think everyone sees the world the same way? You know, like, I don't know, sometimes I go really deep with it. Like, do they see the world how I see the world, literally and figuratively? You know, like, do you see that tree how I see the tree? Do you, how I'm talking to you and how I sound in my head and how I picture the conversation going in my head, is it the same experience for you? Or what is it? It's got to be something behind it. And I think we got to the point where we don't ask why enough anymore. Like, why is completely out of our vocabulary. Like, we just take anything for face value. Oh, someone said, or whatever's projected to us, we eat it up. Like, and we don't question why. And a lot of times what happens is, I was talking with a friend the other day, and I said, in a sense, that's what happened with a lot of these civilizations and movements, and you know, you had the Holocaust, because no one stopped and said, why are we doing this? You know, like, sometimes you can't follow the flock, because the flock is going off a cliff. You know what I'm saying? Like, someone has to stop and say why, you know? It has a lot to do with perspective, you know? If you think, if you don't think about life deep enough like that, you won't, I don't think you'll really value the experience. Because one thing, they always say, one thing we don't get back is time. You know, like, and sometimes, yeah, you having fun, but the whole period of having fun, you get to a point where it's like, damn, I really wasted time. You know, like, I feel like for you to be here, you know, having the experience you have, going through the trials and things that you go through specifically, it's for a reason. And it's all for you to fulfill your purpose, your own specific purpose. That's why I think it's really no such thing as the truth or true or whatever. That, I feel like that word is subjective, you know? Like, everyone has their own truth. Everyone has to do what's true to them in any given situation. So, for example, you got, let's take the 10 Commandments, for example. One of them is thou shalt not kill. But you have laws, and one would say it's right that if you was trying to kill me, what do? You know? Is it true that I'm a murderer? You know, or is it true that I shouldn't have killed you? Or, I mean, for that situation, it was the right thing to do. I have a family, I have my well-being, you know. The situation might not even involve me, but I had to do what I had to do in that situation. So you can't really think of right and wrong. I think everyone has their own right and wrong, but that's something you feel, and that's where the perspective comes in. You have to have a perspective of, I don't want to use it, but it's the right example. I look at it from, let's take Jesus for example. If you look at that story from the perspective of this guy, there's no evidence of this guy existing. Like, all that's made up. You will miss the whole point of the story. You have to look at it from a perspective, the concept of it. Here was a guy who was literally an example of perfection, and his own people killed him. You've taken the best of the best, and he died a death of the worst of the worst. To let you know that regardless of what people around you say or do, you still gotta strive to be the best. You know what I'm saying? Like, they say, oh, he's in us and I accept him. If that's the case, what that means is every day you wake up, you should be striving for perfection. Yeah, no one's perfect because you got other universal laws like motion and stuff like that, meaning you always have to be progressing. Once you hit that point of perfection, that means there's nowhere else to go. And that's when your body starts to deteriorate and death. Because, of course, it's nothing after that. Then you move on to another dimension. But while you're here, you got a responsibility to be the best person you can be. And a lot of times, all the time, it takes sacrifice. It's not about the money. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's a universal law that if you become the best you can be, the universe has to give back. And in this dimension, the reward is money. So as long as you stick to being the best you can be and bringing it back to perspective, you have to understand what that is. The best you can be is something you got to figure out for yourself. You might be doing something right now and it pays good, but you hate it. We wasn't here for that, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't let the money fool you, bro. You know, like, dog, if your perspective of life is having a lot of money, bro, it's kind of like a slap in the face of the work it took for you to just be here living, you know? Like, just to be alive, just to take up this space and have this experience. Like, everyone has a responsibility of leaving this place better than it was before we got here.